The wind carried with it the smell of ash and scorched stone. Smoke curled from cracks in the mountain cliffs, glowing faintly with the embers of a fire that had not burned naturally. The landscape itself looked as though it had been torn apart by some ancient wrath arches of stone twisted skyward. Mist pooled in the crevices, and fire bled from the wounds in the rocks. At the center of this desolation knelt a being that should not have existed, a titanic figure of bone, metal, and charred roots, its hollow chest aglow with dying embers. It was a giant, not of flesh, but of something older, something between the earth and the stars. Its head was bowed as though in defeat, its cracked skull leaking orange fire where veins of molten energy once coursed. The ground around it was littered with blackened vines, as though its very body had grown into and from the mountain itself. One could not tell whether it was dying or merely waiting. Standing before it, dwarfed by its immensity, was a lone warrior. Cloaked in dark leather, a long blade strapped across his back, he stood where the fire met the mist. He did not flinch before the colossus, though the sheer heat of its presence made the stones glow faintly at his feet. His name was Kellen, last of the Hollow Guard. The legend of the Ashen Colossus Kellen had heard the stories since boyhood, whispered in taverns and sung in the hushed dirges of priests. They spoke of the Ashen Colossus, a sentinel forged in the First Age when gods still walked the earth. It was said the colossi were not built, but grown born from seeds of fire planted in the marrow of mountains. Each was bound to guard a gate between worlds, slumbering until the time came for its task. But legends had a way of outliving truth. The priests claimed all the colossi had perished when the gods abandoned the world. Others said they had sunk into the roots of the earth, waiting until mankind's sins woke them again. Kellen had never believed in them until the ground split beneath his village, and the fires rose, and the Titan dragged itself from the mountain like a corpse clawing free of its grave. It did not come with malice. It did not roar, nor rage, nor strike. Instead, it simply knelt, as though weary, as though waiting for something or someone. And so Kellen had followed it, alone, the silent meeting. Now, standing before the kneeling colossus, he raised his voice, though it trembled against the silence. "Do you hear me, Titan?" The giant's head shifted, just slightly, the grinding of its neck like boulders cracking under strain. Its eyes ignited, two orbs of molten flame that burned with neither hate nor mercy. Kellen's hand instinctively went to his sword, but he did not draw it. "You were not summoned by us," he said. "No priest called you, no king demanded you rise. Why then do you stand here in the hollow of a dead land?" For a long moment, there was nothing but the crackle of embers falling from its ribs. And then faint, low, like the shifting of mountains, a voice, not spoken aloud. Spoken within, the gate weakens. Kellen stiffened. His people have long forgotten the gates, dismissing them as myths. But the Hollow Guard his bloodline had been tasked to remember. Long ago, when gods warred with beings beyond the sky, gates were built to seal the rift, and guardians were placed to watch. This colossus was one of them. Kellen bowed his head slightly, though the weight of fear pressed down on him. "And if the gate opens?" The Titan's eyes burned brighter. Sparks leapt from the cracks in its skull. "Then not gods, but devourers shall walk your world." The words seemed to echo in Kellen's bones, each syllable heavier than steel. The choice of the guard Kellen's ancestors had sworn their lives to the guardians, yet he was the last. The Hollow Guard had withered into dust, their oaths forgotten. Only he remained, not by devotion, but by blood. "What would you have me do?" he asked, his voice cracked, not with fear, but with the knowledge of what was being asked. The colossus lowered its head further, embers cascading down like fiery rain. Its great hand pressed into the ground, carving rivers of smoke through the stone. Within its chest, Kellen saw movement branches of blackened root, hollowed veins of molten fire. Something pulsed there, weak and fading. Take the ember, bear it, become the seal. The warrior felt his breath catch. He understood. The Colossus's time had ended. The ember within it, the heart of the guardian, could not burn forever. It needed a vessel, flesh, blood, him. If he took it, he would cease to be a man. His body would be hollowed, reshaped into a vessel of fire and iron. He would live on, perhaps for centuries, perhaps for millennia, but not as Kellen. Not as himself. But if he refused, the gate would weaken, and the devourer's things even gods had feared would walk the earth once more. The weight of fire, he closed his eyes. He remembered his village, already half burned by the Titan's awakening. He remembered the faces of those who looked to him when the fires raged. He remembered the old stories his father had told him of honor, of sacrifice, of the duty that bound the hollow guard. When he opened his eyes, there was no fear left, only resolve. "Then give it to me," he said. The Colossus stirred. For the first time, it seemed at peace. Its chest split open with a sound like thunder, revealing a core of blinding fire entwined with roots of blackened stone. Slowly, it reached inside itself and tore free a sphere of molten ember, its surface cracked with veins of burning light. It lowered the ember toward Kellen. The heat alone seared his skin, yet he did not flinch. He stretched out his hands. When the ember touched him, fire consumed him. His scream echoed against the cliffs, not of fear, but of transformation. His flesh split like kindling, veins glowing as molten fire coursed through him. His eyes burned with the same light as the Colossus. And when the fire dimmed, Kellen no longer stood as a man. His body was encased in blackened root and glowing ember. His chest pulsed with the fire of the seal. He was both man and Colossus, flesh and flame. The Titan before him shuddered once, as if sighing in relief. Then its body collapsed, stone and root crumbling into ash, leaving only silence. The new guardian Kellen stood alone in the hollow valley, the last ember glowing within him. He looked toward the stone arch ahead, mist spilling through it like breath from some unseen beast. The gate, still closed but trembling. He knew then that his life was no longer his own. He was the ember now, the seal, the guardian. For centuries, perhaps for eternity, he would stand watch. And should the gate ever open, he would be the fire that held back the devourers. The last hollow guard had become the ashen Colossus.